Running just one podcast episode touches 8 different tools for me. They don't talk to each other. So I'm the thing that's connecting those different tools. Let me show you talk about rather the actual mess, because I don't think it's just me. If you have a podcast, this might be you as well. So here's the context, right? I'm a solo host. I publish pretty much every week, sometimes twice a week, depending on how many shows I'm doing. I don't have a producer. If that's you, this is going to sound pretty familiar, and I think maybe even in a way that is slightly uncomfortable. I'm going to walk through every tool that one episode passes through in order to get from the show that I record to all the way through where it is going live, right? And we're going to go through this in order to show you where each one has leaks and talk about how that works, okay? So from the get-go, whether I'm doing a solo show or I have a guest, we have some research and we have some script tools that we're going to be using. Guest research, start that in ChatGPT. Have a chat that's just dedicated. I give the person the chat the name, all the information I possibly can. It does all of the work for that. The script lives in a Google Doc. It's already 2 different tools there. Nothing links to each other. I'm not paying for ChatGPT. It's not outputting to Google Docs. They're just separate. And the script, I'm taking the research that ChatGPT has given me, putting it together to make the script. I'm copy and pasting between the windows. Here's the first leak. Okay, script generators. I've tried a lot of different script generators, lots of different prompts for them. Here's the thing. They all work from one topic prompt. One prompt. You tell them about the episode that you want to do. Somehow it generates all of that from nothing. Here's the thing though. It doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like my show because I've never heard my show before. I think that distinction matters, and we'll kind of circle back to that in a little bit. Tracking is a major problem if you have a podcast, and hopefully you know this as long as you've had a couple episodes. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Where is that episode in the process? Is it booked? Is it recorded? Is it edited? Is the audio presented? Right? For me, that answer lived on a Notion board. I had everything set there. I updated it by hand. I would go through and do the work, or send it off to a friend of mine that was trying to help me do some editing. Half the time, that Notion board wasn't right because, oh man, I forgot to get there, or I kind of know where the stuff is in my head. That's the problem. That's a real problem, and it's not really a content problem. It's an operations problem. Because you see, at maybe 5 episodes, you probably can remember kind of where everything's at, what's going on. Episode 25, you've got guests that are booked, episodes that are recorded but they're not edited, episodes that are edited but they're not scheduled, and you have no single place that shows you all of that. Right? That's where it gets challenging, right? You're tracking a production pipeline all in your head. You don't have no kind of metrics. There's nobody really doing that. Then the next thing is the 2 calendar problem, where you have 2 dates for every one episode. And you consistently are getting them confused. You have one day for when you record, and then you have the day for when that episode publishes. Those are 2 different dates, 2 different jobs. If you collapse them, you get kind of a failure, because you're recording on a Thursday, but you think, okay, I'm recording this Thursday. I'll figure out when this is going to go live later on. Listen, I'm telling you, I've been there, I've done that. It's tough to do, right? The actual publishing slot maybe is 3 weeks now, and accidentally, oh man, I put 2 out on one day, or I missed a week because that has happened. Right? I'm sure if you've had a podcast, again, you know what I'm talking about. Production teams, how do they manage this? Well, they keep those 2 calendars separate. They have one for recording and another one for publishing, and they keep those things separate for a reason. You see, solo hosts have trouble doing that because we don't know how that side of the business works, right? If you want to call your podcast a business, we don't know what that looks like. Then we move to guest correspondence, right? Every guest needs some sort of a prep email before you meet with them. After you meet with them, they need a thank you email. They need a heads up. Hey, your episode is going to go live today. Here's the links. Make sure you send it out to your team, to all of your network, everybody that you know, right? All of that lives in Gmail. and it's disconnected from all of the other things. And if you're not tracking those things being done, if you don't remember what the guest email is or have a place where that lives, trying to search it in Google, man, was John's last name Smith? Or man, I don't remember. That is a challenging thing. So the guest status in one place, their emails in another, their audio on another drive, the script somewhere else, trying to figure out what the emails look like, 3 homes or more for just one person's episode. One of them is always out of date, and usually that's the one that you see. Now, where does this content actually fit? Okay, right? What are we building up to? Only now, after you have all of that, then you get to what I would say is probably the hard work, and probably I would say is the hard part for most people. Everybody thinks, oh, I have a podcast. The work happens when you sit down and you do this thing that I'm doing right now and recording. However, that's kind of the easy part. That's the fun part. The hard part comes after you hit record, because then you have show notes. You have figuring out the social post. You have the SEO. You have the blog. And this is where I kept trying to bounce off different ideas off of the AI tools. They would, of course, give a generic output. Sure, it was getting done. The blog was sounding okay, but it wasn't really my show. It wasn't my words, right? They're using words that I don't use, rhythms that just weren't mine. My audience, if they knew and they were listening to the show, they would know instantly that it wasn't me. They would just know. So the fix isn't a better prompt. It's a system that already knows your show, that's learned how you host, how you talk, and learns from real episodes. So the content comes out that sounds like you in your show, instead of sounding like a large language model that's guessing on what you sound like. So here's the point, right? Step back. You have 8 different tools. You have content that's only the last part of them, or kind of, let's say, the middle road of them. Then the real work starts after that. The bigger mess is nothing connects, right? You have the pipeline, you have the calendars, you have the guest info. They're all separate. And the problem is you become the glue that's kind of holding this hodgepodge system together. That's why just use AI, or just have AI write that for you, or have AI help you with that. It never really fixed it for you. And for me either. It patches maybe sometimes 20%, but 80% is, knowing what's recorded, what's scheduled, who's confirmed. Is it, all of that is living in your head, and you're trying to keep track of it across 8 different tabs on 8 different tools. You see, it's an operations problem that's wearing a content problems hat. So I put on my developer hat. I built the thing that I wanted. I built the thing that I kind of needed to have. One system that holds the pipeline, the calendars, both of them, the guest, and generates the episode's content and the show notes. The tool that I built is called Voxory. I run my show on it. I'll have a link in the description to my show and to into Voxory, so you can check it out. You can see that I'm not just somebody. I have a podcast. We've been doing it for a number of years at this point now, and I kind of like to think in systems. So I use my systems thinking kind of mentality to the podcast. I had all of these kind of hodgepodge tools. Okay, listen, something better needs to happen. Something better needs to exist. I couldn't find anything, so again, built it myself. Here's an exercise I want you to do, even before you check out the links that I have there. Okay, here's an exercise. With or without me, just think about this, right? List out every tool that your episode touches, right? So think about one episode for you. How many tools does it touch? Even if you don't even, check out Voxory or anything. Knowing that number, I think is useful for you, because you'll start to think, okay, well, how can I make this better? And hey, if you want to share how many tools you're using, how many tools does just one episode touch for you? Let me know. Leave it in the comments. How many did you land on? I'm at 8, and I don't think that's the worst case.